watch closely some of these trains, you can observe them when they cross the rear switch, they slow down a little bit because they're in that slowdown section, which is reduced voltage is controlled by this rear rheostat R2. Hello, I'm James Ingram. This video is digitized from a 1992 videotape series named V9202. You are watching Module 10D from the original videotape series. 10D is the demo. Please keep in mind there's also a module 10A, 10B, 10C, plus a module 10E, 10F, and 10G for the same unit, the automatic switching block. Four modes of operation that this automatic switching block can be operated in. The first and most elementary is it can be completely depowered and just operate as a piece of straight track. This trains will just go right through it with no effect on anything, just like it was a piece of straight track. Second mode of operation is the automatic passing siding part of it only can be operated. In other words, you would operate two trains just using the automatic passing siding powered, but the block portion of it depowered. And it would operate two trains basically on a flip-flop operation. One train would always be parked on one of the legs, and one train would be running. The third mode of operation would be with the block only operating and the automatic passing siding depowered. So it would essentially just be operating like a regular block without the automatic passing siding part. And the fourth mode, which is where I've got the red arrow drawn, is the way this thing is really designed to operate, with the automatic siding and the block both operating simultaneously. And this will operate three trains in pretty much almost an interlocked mode, because as I mentioned earlier, the siding will handle two trains at any one time, and the third train will be out on the route which the block will handle. And the fifth mode of operation is almost the same as mode 4, except you just add, for the fifth mode, you just add more trains to the track if the track is long enough, and you can possibly juggle some additional trains in. In other words, I talk about this as being siding plus block operation with greater than 3 trains, with juggle in parentheses. I call this juggling essentially because the block has to kind of keep all these trains spaced by doing almost a juggling type of act. It's not really an interlocked type of affair. And we'll try to demonstrate all 4 of these modes on the little display layout set up in my living room here. Now try to demonstrate the first mode with everything depowered, so the block just acts like a piece of straight track. At the moment, the block is powered up with AC control power, so we'll disconnect everything by opening this knife switch back here. That disconnects the AC power to the automatic switching part of the automatic block, and by opening this knife switch up here, that disconnects the AC power to the automatic block part of the unit. So this unit right now is set up just like a piece of straight track. This arm here, it's currently in. I'm going to push it out away from the track. So that'll turn this thing essentially to the green state. If this thing was in toward the track, the block would be left depowered in a red state, and you'd never get a train through here because it would always stop at the on-off section. The on-off section would be off with the arm in toward the track. By pulling the arm out away from the track, like I've done now with this block in the depowered state, it'll set the leg to green, whichever leg this switch is pushed toward. And going back here, I'm going to use the straight part of this unit, so I'll push this arm of this rear switch motor over to the to that side, which is the left. I've been using left and right incorrectly here occasionally, so pardon my misterminology, but I'm calling this the left unit because that's the front of the block going toward the front, so the left is on this side. But anyways, pushing this arm toward the left will, that is to say, pushing it toward the straight leg will route the power over to the straight leg, so that leg will be on. And then finally, we'll go back here to this switch and manually just pull this thing straight. So now I've got this switch set straight. I've got the power by this thing. I've got the power routed to the straight section, and by setting the block to green, it'll put power to it so a train can go through here. You can see that train that's operating now just goes right on through the block. It goes over the track contacts and nothing happens. So that block is essentially like a piece of straight track. You see that engine went over track contact T2 and had no effect. Nothing changed because the control power to the switching block is completely turned off. So that engine just traveling through that block as if it were a piece of straight track, essentially. Now let's talk about our second mode of operation. We said we could use this thing as a passing siding only with just 2 trains on the track. So what I'll do now is add a second engine to the other passing siding, and I'll power up the AC part of the thing that controls the passing siding operation, but I'll leave the block part depowered. So doing that, we'll do mode 2 there with just passing siding only with 2 trains. I've now added a second engine to the track. The only thing I need to do now is power up, close this knife switch here. When I close this knife switch, you can see that light comes on, which indicates we're getting AC control power to the automatic switching part of this unit, which will take care of the switches. It'll now operate this switch here, which controls the points that handle the power to these 2 legs, but the block part in the front is still depowered and still left in the green state. So what we'll be showing now is mode 2, where we're using the automatic switching part of the system, but we still got the block part shut down. Now when that engine comes around and comes across the track contact back in the rear, it should turn the rear switch and throw the power over to the other leg where the green engine is sitting. Now when this green engine gets back to the automatic switching block, when this green engine travels over this track contact right here, this track contact is what actuates this switch motor and reroutes the power back to here. Essentially what it does, it comes in, goes over the track contact and cuts the power off to its own track, which is what makes it stop, and then it shifts the power over to the other track. Now when this engine, the yellow engine, comes around here and goes over this track contact, it'll shift this motor back to that side, which cuts its own power off and turns the power on in this unit. And the operation of this thing is I can say just about totally independent of speed. If one engine is greatly slower or greatly faster than the other engine, it doesn't really matter because you can see the one just sits there till the other one gets around. Let's demonstrate that independence on speed by putting that handcar in. The handcar is quite a bit slower than the yellow work engine. Yet that yellow work engine will just sit there and wait as long as necessary for that handcar to get around the track. You can see the yellow work engine just sat there as long as necessary for the slower train, in this case the handcar, to get around the loop completely and get back to the other branch of the automatic passing siding. So this system operating like this, the engines can be any speed relative to each other. They can be identical in speed, or they can be greatly different in speed. Now our third mode of operation, going back to our list here, mode 3 says operating as a block only with 2 or more trains. So what we'll do now is depower the automatic switching part, and we'll power up the automatic block part and just run this as an automatic block to demonstrate that part. So I'm going to pull this rear knife switch open again, which will depower the automatic switching part of the unit. You can see that light went out to indicate that. Now I'll go up here and I'll power up the front part, which will direct AC control power to the block part. You can see the lights go on in the semaphore arm, so this part is now powered. Now what will happen in this mode, as we demonstrated before when we were using that Model 944 magnetic block back in an earlier module, when that handcar with the magnet goes over this track contact T2 where the green sign says T2 on, it'll set the block to green. It'll turn that leg on where that engine's sitting. I need to push this thing over here. This is depowered. I need to since that rear part is not powered, I've got to make sure that the power is directed over to the straight leg. And I also forgot to change the switch. Now I think I finally got the initial conditions right. We'll get this thing operating as an automatic block yet. Here you can see the yellow work engine went over the that track contact and released the handcar. Now it's going to sit there until the handcar comes around and goes over this track contact, which will release the yellow work engine. You can see this block can handle a pretty good variation in speed. Even though the handcar is quite a bit slower than that fast work engine, all it has to do is make it from this track contact here, where it starts the work engine up. It just has to make it from here on around and cross this track contact T1, which sets the block to red again. And if we needed to, we could move this track contact T2 even further around the loop to give the handcar an even bigger head start. Or if we had to, we could move this track contact T2 all the way around almost to back behind the slowdown section to give the handcar almost a complete loop's head start if we had to. My handcar, I've got one set of the brushes off one set of the wheels. They had a lot of rolling resistance, so it's only picking up track contact on two wheels, which I think is the reason that hesitates on that one switch occasionally. Let's now demonstrate this third mode of operation, or the fourth mode of operation, our most important mode that this block was designed for. That's mode 4, where we have everything powered up, so the thing is operating both as an automatic passing siding and an automatic block, and we can run 3 trains in a fully interlocked fashion. Let's try to demonstrate that next. Now, to do everything, we want the automatic switching system powered up. The block is already powered up. We want the switching part powered up, so I'm going to close this knife switch again. And you can see indicated by the light going on. So now this automatic switching block unit is fully powered, with both its automatic switching circuitry back here powered up and the automatic block circuitry up in the front powered up. You can see that work engine just came in and stopped, and it shifted the rear switch motor to route the power over to the leg where the handcar is sitting. Lost my sound briefly on the mic at the end of that last piece. I don't think anything critical got lost. The only thing I did want to mention, which I did get cut off, was we can move that track contact to suit the speed of the engines. With that handcar, as it was operating earlier, the track contact was over here, and the one thing I was saying that I lost sound was that that handcar needed more time to avoid being caught by the faster yellow engine. We can move that track contact that way, even closer to the block, so it would give the handcar an even larger head start. The fifth mode of operation for these things that we talked about a minute ago, number 5, siding and block operation with greater than 3 trains. Essentially the same setup as number 4, except we're just adding more than 3 trains. With the 3 trains, as we demonstrated with the handcar and the yellow engine and the green engine, it was almost an interlock system that could handle trains of differing speeds quite well. Now we've got 5 trains on the loop, and the one thing I did do, if you notice, the track contact T2 was here. I've taken it from there and moved it down here. I guess it's off the camera, but it's right by this this sign there. Maybe I can adjust the camera. Now we can see the track contact T2. It's actually underneath that car, but it's right there where the sign says T2 on. So let's watch these trains in operation. This is essentially a juggling operation because there's nothing really interlocked. You just play with the spacing of the track contact T2, experiment moving at different distances from the block, and try to get an optimum spacing between the trains and just see if they can stay separated. This is a mismatch of some sort, because this green engine here is a slower engine, and that yellow work engine is a faster engine. They're the two mismatched engines. That little gray engine that's pulling in the curved branch of the passing siding is fairly quick also. You can see with the 5 trains on this relatively small layout, it keeps the block fairly busy doing the juggling operation, but it does do it. Whether the trains come in and sit on the automatic passing siding or not depends on their relative speeds. If it's a slow train, by the time it gets here, the previous train may have already gone around and hit track contact T2 and set it to green. If it's a fast train like this gray one, it'll get in and get parked before the train goes over T2. Notice the gray one is stopping for a minute. Here I think you can see the basic scheme of the operation. Whenever a train comes in a branch, it'll throw that rear switch motor to the other side, which will shift the power over to the other side. And if the block is green, as in the case it is now, the train that's sitting there will leave. And notice the block goes green whenever the train goes over that track contact T2, which is over in the left corner of the picture. Now, in case of this gray train coming in, the block isn't green yet, so it'll just shift the power and they'll both wait. Also notice the effect of the slowdown. If you watch closely some of these trains, you can observe them when they when they cross the rear switch, they slow down a little bit because they're in that slowdown section, which is reduced voltage is controlled by this rear rheostat R2.